All right, Shalom Israel. This is the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge under Commanding General Yohana. My name is Officer Hall. Under Commanding General Yohana, we have been called to teach the so-called Black, so-called Hispanic, and so-called Native American people that we are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, with that introduction, you might notice me saying that we are so-called Hispanics, Blacks, and Native Americans. Those are not our God-given names. The oppression that we've went through, the crushing of our people, we've been given different names. We're going to go into some stuff tonight. Tonight is our Wednesday night law class. And I'd also like to bring out, some articles, a few books that I have, as well as covering the law and going over the upcoming, holiday that people are going to be celebrating in the world. I'm going to give you guys some time to go ahead and get your pens ready, a drink if you need. I'll play a video or two and we'll be right back with you.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding strap on my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding strap on my chrome.
Been out of these streets, nigga trying to eat, while I duck police. Own family stealing from me. I'm on the phone me to pray, but white Jesus can't save me. Get him away from me. I don't know what to say. So many niggas hating me. Get him away from me.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding strap on my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding strap on my chrome.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding around with my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding around with my chrome. Tryna keep it on the true side, nigga. Laying low to play it cool, nah, nigga. Ass niggas on the team, I've been known to get the green ever since I was 2-5, nigga. Coop hanging out the roof, nah, nigga. Cause I ain't stunting on them, put my whole team on so they ain't wantin'. When niggas doing bad, you know that they be hating on you. Get the hoping that you fall, they be waiting on it. Bullshit, get bread from the envy. Best friends get to looking like enemies. When you got it in this bank account empty. Perfect recipe to brittle out of jealousy. Looking from a bird's eye view. Learn from everything I've been through. Told my baby girl, if you ain't spending life with the nigga, never let him put a dick up in you. Cause if a nigga wrong, I'ma check that shit. And when you paper long, never flex that shit. Told my son, when you getting money, never trick it to a bop and flip it over, then invest that shit. Give a lot of game, trying to bless my kid. Gotta keep it real, that's the best shit. Got hitters up in Philly, back in Texas. When I get up on the track, yeah, I wreck shit.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding strap on my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding strap on my chrome.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding around with my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone, while I'm riding around with my chrome.
Somebody give me Romans 13 and 11. I have a question. It's a Ronald Carr, man. Give me Romans 13 and 11.
Khan, this is the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11. And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep.
Brother, you need a water?
Thank you.
All right. So let's clap it up. I'm about to go ahead and start class. So one of the things that, I enjoy doing is, and again, Salaki, let me go ahead and, introduce myself. So again, if you missed it the first time, because I went ahead and, introduced, I'm Officer Quahal with ISUPK. I'm in the Delaware zone. Right now, we're in Delaware South. And, Commander General Yahana, is a great leader. And one of the things that we were able to do, over this past weekend was go to Philly. We did a clothing drive and a food drive. And to be able to actually give back to your people in an organized way is something excellent. And we were able to do that. And the Bible does say, feed my sheep. So if we can go to John 21 and 15, I'd appreciate that. We could start there. It was a lot of brothers and sisters out there that were able to get free clothes, free food. It was a little chilly out there. So we did the chili in Philly. We were able to link up with, our brothers, from different camps, mostly Philly and Delaware was out there. And it was an excellent time, in Philadelphia, because times are getting harder and harder on our people. But we don't just have words for you. We don't just have, things and just small scriptures and, these sayings that we hear all the time. We're actually going to teach, but we're also going to feed, because the Bible says, feed my sheep. So we can start with John 21 and verse 15.
The book of John, chapter 21 and verse 15. So when they had dined, Yahweh said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee.
So he's saying, yes, Lord, I love you. Continue.
He said unto him, feed my lambs.
So first it says, feed my lambs. Verse 16.
He said to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, love thou me? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, feed my sheep.
So feed my sheep. And that's what we came to do. We have a lot of brothers and sisters out there who, through this oppression have been trodden down and brought down to a state which is, nigh unto hell. And here in the ISUPK, not only do we go out on these corners, these highways and byways, and we give them the good news that Christ died for the sins of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the Israelites. But we also do give them substance, because you just can't give a man all the time words when he needs food.
Exactly.
And I believe I have that precept. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that they weren't checking us in the chat. But, you know, it's just not about just taking tithes. Like, you know, I know the Christian church, you know, where, you know, a lot of us grew up. There are certain programs that they do have, but you see a lot of profit preaching, and people are going to defend TD Jakes, Creflo Dollar. I forget the other, the man that had passed away on his private jet, but these are profit preachers, Joel Osteen. And with the amount of money that they make, they could actually make a world of difference in the community, but they do not. So give me a second. Let me find that precept.
What verse you looking for?
Salakia. I can't remember the wording of it, but it was an excellent verse. All right, so let's start with James 2:15. I believe that's it. It could be another precept for it, but I'll just use that one. And let me get there with you, Salakia. So it's just not only about going out and talking, but we also walk. That's what we do. There's also going to be other things that we do throughout the year for our brothers and sisters. We had a barbecue in the summertime where we literally fed, 300 something people. And we'll continue to do that because our brothers and sisters are important. And it says, feed my sheep. So Salakia, let me get there with you 1 second. All right, yeah, so we can start at 15 because this is important because we did a clothing and a food drive. And in the ISUBK, we like to do things according to the scriptures.
Exactly.
And we'll get to the law soon, but I just wanted to break this down for us. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Got any comments in the chat while you get to that? All right, so no sweat. Since you got to take care of that, I'll go ahead and read it. So this is the book of James, chapter 2 and verse 15. If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, so if a brother be naked, like they need clothes, or they be destitute of food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled. So instead of giving them what they need, the physical things that they actually need, because we live in a physical world. Yes, this is a spiritual battle. There is a Holy Spirit involved with this movement, but there are physical needs that we have. So we'll start that from the top. If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? So what does it profit for you to just say, you know what, brother, I see you don't got no shoes, you got holes in your socks. I know I hear your stomach grumbling, but go in peace, be warm, and be not hungry anymore. How does that actually profit them? Verse 17, even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. You have to put not only that faith that we have in this work, but we actually have to do the work. So to just take money, buy a jet, and not give the people what they need is absolutely contrary to the scriptures. Verse 18, yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works,
right,
and I will show thee my faith by my works. So at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, what we need to remember is we just can't say we're going to pray because faith without works is dead. So we have to actually do, and we were able to do that for our brothers and sisters over in Philadelphia through the food program that the brothers have been running in Philadelphia. And round of applause to ISUBK Philly. All right, so this is the law class. We're going to be talking about, the law, but of course we have a holiday that brothers and sisters are going to be celebrating, in the world. And one of the things that brothers and sisters say is They're doing it and they're giving thanks to God. Let me get a precept for you. And Kaash, if you can find this with just the, I don't know, I'm kind of shooting from the hip. I should have had this ready. But it pretty much says things coming out of, like a good thing coming out of pus. Let me see.
I don't know that one. Good things come out like pus. Like
Yeah, I forgot how it's worded. Let me see.
I've heard it before, but I'm not too sure exactly.
good thing come out of pus.
Salakia. But pretty much you can't turn something that was rooted in evil into something good. That's not how this works. So you can't take a holiday that's rooted in murder.
Right.
You can't take a holiday that's rooted in paganism, which is satanic worship, and say that you're using it to serve God. I'll give an example before we start. Imagine if somebody had unalived one of your family members, and years down the line, you have people that are supposed to be your friends and they're celebrating that specific day. You would ask them, like, are you really going to celebrate what is going on as far as my family member being unalived, and say you're giving it to God? You wouldn't expect them to do that. So how can we expect to celebrate Thanksgiving when the Native Americans were unalived?
Right.
Because that's what the celebration is actually about. And I'll get into the articles. Because in school, we were taught the Native Americans and the Pilgrims came together and they had a big meal, this, that, and the fourth. But there were so many things that actually happened contrary to that story that are actually, you know, a terrible atrocity that happened to our brothers and sisters. I'm sorry, Wayne, you had a question?
Yeah, just to give a precept upon what you were just speaking of, Isaiah 5, verse 20. You want me to go ahead and go into it?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and read it.
Isaiah 5, verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil,
That's actually a good precept.
that put darkness for light and light for darkness,
Right.
that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. That's basically where I wanted to stop at verse 20. It's just a precept to get everyone to what you were just basically saying. You can't take something that's evil and make good out of it.
Right.
And a lot of times people take good, like as far as what we preach, and say that we're evil for it. So basically that's just a precept of what I wanted to drop.
Right, I appreciate
just
that.
in case you didn't have that one real quick.
Yeah, no sweat. I think I might, let me see.
That just goes on to what you were just speaking of. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can find that precept because I have it worded wrong, but no sweat. Let's go ahead and let's get Matthew 19 and verse 16. We'll start with verse 16, Matthew 19 and 16, because a lot of individuals in the Christian church, of course, and we say this time and time again, they believe that the law is done away with, but they still know that it's wrong to kill. Right. So if the law is done away with and the law is thou shalt not kill, then how come you're not allowed, or Salakia, unalive? Why are you allowed to unalive why aren't you allowed to unalive somebody? Go ahead.
And also, why do they still collect tithes? You know
Okay,
what I mean?
Absolutely. I was going to get to that. That's an excellent point. No sweat. Good point. Tithes is a commandment. Tithes is a commandment. Thou shalt not kill, which is actually meaning thou shalt not murder.
Right.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Right.
So if these laws are done away with, why aren't we allowed to just do utter chaos and anarchy? Why isn't it said in the church, like, you can do whatever you want, just make sure that you have faith in Jesus Christ? Because they know, even though that's how they kind of live their lives, they know not to cross certain boundaries. Because deep down inside, we know that faith without works is dead, and you can't just talk about it. You have to actually do it. So let's go ahead and start with that verse.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments.
So if you will enter into life. So what does that mean when it says you will enter, if thou will enter into life? What does that mean? Because the man is obviously alive. He's obviously speaking to Yahushua, who the world so ignorantly calls Jesus. But what does he mean when he says, if thou will enter into life?
Eternal life.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and get a precept. Give me 1 second. So when it's talking about the enter into life, it's talking about that life that God breathed into Adam when he gave him the knowledge, because the commandments are that breath of life. So when it says enter into life, it's talking about living forever. And what does that verse say if you depart from it? So let's go ahead and get there. Give me 1 second. All right. So the one I'm going to use is Ezekiel, and you can and if you guys can go to Ezekiel 37, 3-5, because that life. So you can see that if you're going to enter into life, it's keep the commandments. So right there, Christ is not saying that the law is done away with.
Right.
He's saying keep the commandments if you will live. And that life is talking about eternal life. But let's get the precept to that as well.
It's like it. I can start reading.
Kind out of one kind.
All right. This is Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 3. And he said unto me, son of man, can these bones live? And
Salakia. So Ezekiel is seeing a vision. And or Salakia. So yes, Ezekiel is given is speaking to God. He's getting a vision, and and this is talking about the children of Israel, how we are pretty much in a state of death. Right. But continue.
And I answered, O Lord God, thou knowest.
So he's saying, you know, Lord, because this is a saying that it's kind of difficult, because over time, as you look through the history of what the Israelites have been through, we're here as far as the kingdom is concerned. So you had Saul, you had David, you had Solomon, right. But we fall, we end up in these captivities. Exactly. We rise again with these other kings. We end up in captivities, and we leave from these commandments, and we're in a state of death. Continue.
Verse 4. Again, he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord.
So the word of the Lord, and let's break that down real quick. When you're prophesying, you're giving the prophecies of the Lord.
Exactly.
Like you're giving a prophecy of things to come. Continue.
Thus saith the Lord God unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live.
So the word of the Lord, we're prophesying, we're giving the law, the commandments, the statutes. Those bones will return to life. We will have life again.
Right.
We will enter into life. Let's go ahead and move on to Exodus 12 and 14, because we'll talk about Thanksgiving a little bit. So tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and I'll bring up an article. And, you know, as I was saying, we're in school, and there's, you know, these myths about, you know, Thanksgiving, you know, what it's about, this, that, and the fourth. But honestly, it's about the unaliving and the defeat of our Native American brothers and sisters. And it was a terrible time, an absolute terrible time. And I don't see the world speaking up about the atrocities that happened to the Native Americans. But there's a people over in Palestine that are going through a lot right now, and they're being unalived. They're being bombed. Their children are being killed. But they have an entire nation, and they're defending themselves. Because on the other side, there's Israelis that are being unalived. They've launched an attack, and they're going back and forth. They have bombs. The Native Americans were absolutely slaughtered. Nobody till this day has spoken up on their behalf. There are 300 and something treaties that were broken by the US government, by the United States, that still hold weight in the law today. That hasn't been brought up in front of the United Nations. That hasn't been something that's been rectified. They haven't been given anything except for a reservation that they're not even allowed to even build businesses on.
Right.
They're not even allowed to, reap the benefits of being on land. They were given a land that yields them no benefit at all. They're just stuck on a mound of dirt. So let's go ahead and read Exodus 12 and 14, because what as a people, what we're going to do, the people that are in the world, they're going to celebrate Thanksgiving and say, okay, I'm giving thanks to God.
Right.
But there's commandments that were given to us about keeping the Lord's holiday or holy days, but they're not doing that. And that's through the Old and the New Testament. So let's go ahead and read that.
This is Exodus chapter 12 and verse 14. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial.
So this is talking about the Passover in this verse.
Yeah.
Exodus 12
Right.
and 14 is talking about the Passover. Because just the backstory, so that we don't go too far into it, we were in captivity under the Egyptians. The Lord, he came and he delivered us from the Egyptians by his hand. And he slaughtered their firstborn. And those who put that blood over their door, they were able to live. And everything that was coming as far as death passed over them. Continue.
And you shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations.
Throughout your generations. Our generations have not stopped. Even though we've discontinued from our heritage, we are supposed to keep the Passover. Let's go to verse 24. You can go ahead and read that.
Verse 24. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever.
When is the last time the Christian church, whether you be any denomination, because I was having a discussion with my father and he said there's over 45,000 denominations, over 45,000 denominations. And in Salakia, how many did you say are being created every single day or every single week? A day? There are 2.4 denominations being created a day.
That's crazy.
So you have all these different factions, but yet and still the world is getting worse. I'll take a little sidebar. I'm having a conversation. I got two different group chats that I'm in with friends in the world. And I posed the question, is the world getting worse or better? And when I ask that question, what I'm asking is the state of the world, people's disposition and morality, is that getting better or worse? You say that the law is done away with, but yet and still you see the world is in utter decay. You see that the way things are going aren't right, even though we've been born into it. I'm having a conversation on the way over here as well. The conversation and what I'm stating is this. We are in a time to where everything is normal that is abnormal.
Right.
The devil actually rules this world. So if you thought you had to die to see the devil, you're absolutely wrong. The devil is well and among us in a group of people, and they rule this world.
Yep.
You spend, as a full-time employee, 8 to 12 to 16 hours a day at work. If you have children, TV and those teachers are raising your children. And the TV and the teachers, they don't even have your children's best interest at heart.
Not at all.
Your children, they bring these ideas and they say these things, and you're like, where did you get this from? They got them from people who don't care about them. The school is not even matched up with your schedule to where you can even have a decent time with your kids, because most of the time school may start before you even go to work and starts and then ends after, or excuse me, ends before you go to work. So there's a time, there's a gap. So there's more people who get to have contact with your children. You have to go to work to feed them. You're being separated from them day to day. They have the women working out here just as hard as the men. So the women can't even fill their natural role in the house and command the children and keep things in order and be in a less stressed environment. Work is a very stressful environment. Women should not have to go through that. But what this devil has done has turned the world upside down and made the woman have an idea in her head like, oh, I need to be out. I need to get it. I need to be an independent woman. The woman shouldn't have to do that. She should be protected and provided for.
Exactly.
But there's not a situation where this devil will allow us to do that for us. Let's get, sorry for that sidebar. I just had to pull that out because we're not following the laws, statutes, and commandments, and things are getting worse and worse. Let's go to 2 Kings 23 and 21. Because like I said, there's a holiday we're going to celebrate, but the one the Lord commanded us to celebrate, we're not doing that. And the Bible foretold of that, and we'll get to it. So that was 2 Kings 23 and 21. You can go ahead and read it whenever you're ready.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23 and verse 21. And the king commanded all the people, saying, keep the Passover until the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of this covenant.
As it is written, that is a commandment to keep the Passover. That is a law. This is the Wednesday night law class.
Right.
If you have not been told to keep the Passover as a commandment, then somebody has not been telling you the right thing. We're gonna get one more verse in the New Testament because somebody might go, okay, that's the old covenant. But what about the new covenant? Well, number one, the new covenant was given to the Israelites as well. We'll go into detail in that at another time, but let's go to Mark 7 and verse 6. Because the Lord doesn't appreciate and actually finds the holidays detestable that we've been celebrating, that he has not ordained as a holy day that we're supposed to be celebrating. As children of the Most High God, we're supposed to be good children because that's what it says. It gives God the attribute of a father, and it gives us the attribute of the children. We should do what our Father says.
Absolutely.
We are the house of Israel.
Right.
The father of that house has told his children what to do. If you want to be well with your father, you should follow his rules. So let's go ahead and read Mark 7 and verse 6.
This is the book of Mark, chapter 7 and verse 6.
You know what, Salakia? I apologize. We're going to read that verse third. I actually want to go to Matthew 15 and 9. I misspoke. Salakia for that.
It's all good.
So like I said, we want to be good children to the Most High. And I'm going to pull this while Ka'ash reads this, because I'm going to ask a question, because this is simple. This is very, very simple. So let me go ahead. Ka'ash, you can begin to read, and I'm going to pull something.
This is Matthew chapter 15 and verse 9. But in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
So the devil on earth, this man, has taught us to celebrate and keep all these things that have nothing to do with God. Let's read that again.
But in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
These are commandments of men to keep Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. All these holidays that have nothing to do with anything. These are the celebrations of death that we don't even realize. They are celebrating the death and the destruction of Native Americans on Thanksgiving. Christmas is another holiday that we don't even realize. They celebrate the death of our people, because 1492 is when Christopher Columbus sailed, found, and that's when the transatlantic slave trade started.
Exactly.
The modern celebration of Christmas as we know it today is mixed with things that celebrate our destruction. That sleigh and Santa Claus was represented as a boat and Santa Claus at one time. And that boat represented us going into slavery, our destruction. We should no longer celebrate our destruction, because when you celebrate the commandments of men, all you're doing is celebrating normally our destruction. Continue.
Verse 10. And he called the multitude, and he said unto them, hear and understand, not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man.
Salakia, we could stop right there. Now we can go to Isaiah 29 and 13. So I know Kanai knows. I know Kaash knows. I'm assuming my father knows, and I believe Wayne might know. But who wants to answer between these two? Because I know you already know. So who wants to answer? How do you love God? So we got a little hand in the back. But let's you want to answer it?
I believe I know the answer, but
Okay, no, so go ahead. Lay it on me.
To follow his commandments. To follow
Absolutely.
his laws.
Right.
Absolutely. So is that what you were going to say, young man Ace? Okay. So let's read that. Let's get that
I
precept.
ain't gonna take your shot with Brian.
Nah, it's too wild. All right. So this is 1 John chapter 5, verse 3.
I'm
And
sorry, I thought we were in Isaiah. Just,
we're going to go to Isaiah. I'm just going to read this, and Kaash is going to hold that for me. No sweat. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
Right.
So if you love God, you're going to keep his commandments,
Right.
not the commandments of men. Salakia, say that
Can
again.
you give me that verse one more time? You just said it was.
Khan, that is 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3. So if you love God, you're not going to keep the commandments of men.
Right.
You're not going to celebrate the destruction of his people. You're the pictures and the articles that I've been reading is something terrible. And we'll get to another verse, and it's ridiculous how many atrocities have happened to us. Go ahead.
I was just going to go along with your verse, John 15:10. If you keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love.
Absolutely. And that's one I was going to read as well, but that's an excellent precept. Add that to your precept books. Start asking your friends that are Christians these questions. Ask them these questions. What is it to love God? So if the law and the commandments are done away with, so how now do you love God? Because these things are coming out of the New Testament. Because people will say, oh no, the Old Testament. Gosh, you remember offhand that verse that says all scripture is for our learning? Which one is that again? I always forget it. Dashayim always brings that up.
I think that's in Timothy.
All right, Salaki, let me see.
I think that's in Timothy. All scripture is for learning and profitable for our good. Right.
Right. So that was definitely a good let me see.
That's definitely in Timothy, I believe.
Okay. So all these scriptures, even the Apocrypha that they have said is not canon, which is a lie, is for our learning. Because if we can't go back and look at where the mistakes were for our people, see what we need to do, then how do we get out of what we have come to be now? How do we get out of that? Go ahead.
I got the verse.
Go ahead. You can read it. Why?
This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3 and verse 16. All scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works.
That is an amazing precept,
Right.
that we may be perfect, that we may be reproved, that we may be, that means that we may be corrected, that we may walk in a manner that God wants us to walk in. But if you say the Old Testament doesn't matter, if you say the Apocrypha is not canon,
Right.
then how do you get to where you need to get? Because the Bible is a complete history. It is a complete word of God. So how do you take out of it and still think that you can get out of it what you need? You get a whole nother doctrine. You get other religions. You get 45,000 denominations. and 2 point something growing every day. That's what you get. Sorry, I had to steal your your article.
No.
I'm sorry. What's the denomination?
A denomination would be like if somebody is a Baptist and then somebody is like a Catholic. They kind of believe different things, like a Protestant. So a Catholic and a Protestant Bible might be different than a Baptist Bible, because the Protestants are the one who took out during, I think it was during the Protestant Reformation, if I'm not mistaken. But the Protestants are the one who took out the Apocrypha. Right. King James had said the Apocrypha had, what is it, 80 books?
Right.
It's 80 books total. And that was the original King James authorized version. Then here come these devils making all these different other types of like Christianities. And that would be like your Catholics, your Protestants. What else you have? Seventh-day Adventists. Those are denominations, like those different types of, people that you might see that say they're Christians, but they're just a little bit different, like a Jehovah's Witness.
Would that strictly be for like the Christian community? Like the Muslims and Islam and all of that be a denomination as well?
So I would say no, because that would be considered a different religion, even though modern day Muslims are literally created from them taking from the Bible. So the Jewish religion of Judaism or Zionism, however you want to say it, that's a different religion. They took that from the Bible, but it's not actually what the Bible said or you're supposed to follow. Christianity, 45,000 different denominations. And then you have the Muslims that have decided to have one God instead of having the 360 that they used to have before, Muhammad, came across the Israelites and decided to, bring them together like that. And even though it's false, it's been working for them. People have been taking the Bible and making it work for them, with the little understanding that they have. But us, we've become, homeborn slaves, and we've decided to be under their religion. The Caucasian religion is Christianity. The Muslim religion, or Salakia, the Arab religion is, of Muslims. Somebody had a question? Oh, no sweat. Where were we? Isaiah 29 and 13?
Yes, come.
If we can get that. Because we want to follow the precepts and what God is telling us to do. And like I said, if you don't go back to the Old Testament, you're going to not understand fully what's going on. There's going to be something missing. You don't really know about the Greeks and about certain holy days if you don't go to the Maccabees, or excuse me, not just the Maccabees, but the Apocrypha. Because Mark, he's getting what he said from the Old Testament. He's learning from Christ. He's being taught. But Christ, the disciples, they're getting what they are telling us in the New Testament from the Old Testament, the other prophets. I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit of Mark before Kaash reads it. Give me 1 second. So in Mark, Matthew 15 and 9. So we were there. You guys don't have to go to it, but I just want to read it and then have Kaash read, so you guys can hear the similarity of the verse and how this is a precept and how the prophets are getting what they're saying, not from their own words, but from what God gave to the prophets aforetime. Because Christ said he didn't come of his own. Christ is getting what he's learning because Christ was well versed in the scriptures. Things didn't just pop in his head like magic.
Right.
Christ studied. Exactly. Because faith without works is dead. Christ had faith that he was going to be able to redeem his people, but he also put in a lot of work. So Matthew 15 and 9. So Matthew 15 and 9 says, I didn't went to Mark 15 and 9. Salakia, let me get there. So Matthew 15 and 9.
I got it, sir.
But in vain, no, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, but in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. But let me read up one more verse, because I said 15 and 9. Let's get the whole picture with this verse. 15 and 8 says, this people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth. So we talk a good game. We say things that they sound pleasing to the ear, and it may sound like it's something that should be said. And it says they honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. What they actually do, their actions, what they actually think is completely different. But in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Let's get Isaiah 29 and 13.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 13. Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth.
So the same thing Matthew said, they draw nigh. This says near me. Same thing. Where do you think Matthew got it from? Whoever gave it to Matthew, whether it was Christ himself or Matthew read it, this is a precept. These brothers are studying the Bible. You can't just take the scriptures and make something null and void. It's all for our learning. In order for you to understand fully the laws, the statutes, and commandments, the full word of God, precept upon precept. Continue.
Right. Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me.
That is the same thing. Any more? Go to the next verse.
And their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men.
That's the exact same thing. Matthew had to have gotten that from the Old Testament, no matter who put him down with that. Go ahead.
And it's very heavy what you're bringing out, you know what I mean, what the Most High is saying. Because, you know what I mean, when it was Christopher Columbus Day, Christians were saying, you know what I mean, F Christopher Columbus and stuff like this.
Right.
But now here comes Thanksgiving, and they're about to celebrate his completed work. Like,
good night. That, you know what?
Completed, killing everybody.
Let's get Mark 7 and 6 finally, because I done referenced it twice and haven't gotten to it. And then I want to read you guys something from a book, and it's something that was written by somebody named Michael Bradley. But go ahead, let's read that, because that's a perfect point that you brought out. Let's go ahead, read Mark 7, 6 through 9.
This is Mark chapter 7 and verse 6. He answered and said unto them, well had Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites.
So this is Isaiah. Isaiah is Isaiah. Salakia. This is Greek. So say the name again, because I'm messing it all up. Isaiah. So that's Isaiah. So Hebrew, Isaiah. Greek, Isaiah, or however you say it. Continue.
Prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, these people honor me with their lips.
As it is written. Let's move to something real quick. When the brothers, which are the priests and the prophets of the ISUBK, are saying something, we're not telling you of our own. As it is written. So when we say that, why aren't you celebrating the Passover? That's a law. As it is written. This isn't from our lips. This is from the Most High. This is the word of the Most High, as it is written. He's letting you know that he got it from Isaiah. And he's saying, Isaiah prophesied you are hypocrites.
Right.
Even until this day, ISUPK is saying you are hypocrites.
Yep.
As it is written. Salakia, continue.
These people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Howbeit, in vain do they worship me.
It is false the way they worship the Most High.
Right.
You want to say that you are celebrating Christmas to glorify God. You want to say that you're celebrating Thanksgiving. First of all, Christmas has nothing to do with God.
Exactly.
It has everything to do with every single other paganistic, satanic god out there. Thanksgiving is the slaughter of Native Americans. That's a precept or a commandment of men, and it has nothing to do with God. Continue.
Howbeit, in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
The commandments of men. This is the law class again, and we want to keep the Lord's commandments, not the commandments of men. Let me ask y'all a question before I get into that, because there's something else that I wanted to touch. I know I'm jumping back and forth. I'll ask Wayne first. Because I've asked 2 people in here already. When is the first day of the week?
Saturday.
The first day of the week is Saturday?
Or Sunday, is it?
Okay. Kanai, do you agree with that?
I don't know the answer, sir.
Okay, no sweat. So it's like it says if I put you on the spot. So if I could get let me see. If I could get Exodus 20:8, because this is another commandment of men. When we have a situation to where the days of the week, this, that, and the fourth, and this the reason why we're in this situation is because the devil. We'll read something real quick and we'll jump back to it. What were you about to say?
Biblically, I know that what we think the first day of the week is in America would be Monday.
Right.
But biblically, I know that it is not a Monday.
It would be Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sunday.
So I always thought the first day of the week was Monday.
Right.
That made sense to me. Let's go ahead and read. What was the verse I called for, Salakia?
Exodus 28.
Yeah, let's read that real quick.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Okay. Yeah, you're about to say something?
I just want to let you know the other thing that reinforces what you're saying. A lot of times you can buy 2 calendars.
Right.
One calendar will have Saturday and Sunday as the 6th and 7th day.
Right.
And another calendar will have Sunday through Monday and Saturday.
Right.
I mean, if you go to any store, they'll have 2 calendars.
They will.
So that's why a lot of us are confused.
Absolutely. Because the work week that runs the United States and everybody else is Monday through Sunday. But if you guys could open up your phones and see which is the first day in your calendar. And then I'm going to read some. What's the first day of the week in your phones? Let's see. And I'm going to read something. This is a, let me get this. I should have got a better bookmark. No sweat though. I got a napkin. So this is, I'm going to hold this up. This is a dictionary, and it is the American Heritage Dictionary. So let me go ahead and get something for you guys. Let me see. And we're going to read something because Christianity, we have it on, it says read that again, Kaash.
Lucky my internet working.
Oh, the internet?
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8.
Right.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor,
Right.
and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
Right.
In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
So with that verse, it's saying on the 7th day we should rest, right?
Yeah.
On the 7th day is the Sabbath, and it said keep it holy. That is a commandment. Sunday is the first day. So if you are in the Christian church and you're going to church on Sunday and calling that your Sabbath, you are absolutely wrong, because the 7th day is Saturday. Like I said, this is an American Heritage Dictionary. Let me go ahead and read you the definition of Saturday, which is the actual Sabbath, if you didn't know. Saturday, the 7th day of the week. That plain and simple. Let's go to Sunday, because I said if you look in your calendars on your phone, you're going to see that normally your calendar in your phone starts with a Sunday. So if you are keeping the Sabbath as a Sunday, you are absolutely wrong. You are breaking the law. Oh, all right. So let me go ahead and get to the definition for Sunday, because Saturday has said it was the 7th day. We're looking to see Sunday say what? The first day. So let me get there real quick. I had my little bookmark, but I kind of messed it up. All right.
Hey, Slakia.
Khan, sir.
So you were saying that in your phone, Sunday should start first?
It does in my calendar. I just wanted to see what you guys had.
Yeah, mine starts at Sunday as the first day.
Right. So Sunday in most of our phone calendars, which we use, which should be a hint, it should start as the first day. And let me see. All right. So Sunday. So Sunday, which is a noun, the first day of the week and the Christian Sabbath. So that's what that says. So absolutely. So your Sabbath is contrary as a Christian to the scriptures. And it's okay if you want to worship the Lord on every day of the week. But in Exodus, where we read from, tells us to celebrate our Salakia, keep the Sabbath holy on Saturday. So if you're not doing that, you are breaking the law. This is the Wednesday night law class. We are teaching our brothers and sisters, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to keep the law. This is something simple. Let's get Zechariah, Salakia. Let's get Daniel 7:25, because a little history on why it's Sunday instead of Saturday is because of Constantine. And I'm gonna read that one more time while we get to Daniel 7:25. It says Sunday, a noun, the first day of the week and the Christian Sabbath. So if it's literally saying that it's the Christian Sabbath, but yet the scriptures say that the Sabbath is on the seventh day, while Sunday is the first day, Christians, reflect on what's happening and ask your pastors, why are we keeping the Sabbath on Sunday if it's the first day of the week?
That's tough.
But yet we're supposed to keep the Sabbath on the seventh, the last day of the week. All right, so if we can read Daniel 7:25.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25.
And I want y'all to keep in mind that we've been talking about keeping the commandments of men is what we've been doing rather than keeping the commandments of God. That was in Isaiah 29:13, Mark 7, Mark 7:6-9, and Matthew 15:9. Salakia, go ahead and read for me.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
So what this is saying is this entity, which we in ISUPK know is the devil that the Bible speaks of, shall speak great words against the Most High. If the Most High says that the Sabbath is on Saturday, this devil is saying that it's on Sunday. If the Most High says that same-sex marriages are not to be done, this devil is ordaining people from the community, the letter community, as pastors and preachers, and letting them have the same-sex marriages. They are speaking great words against the Most High. They are saying that the Israelis are the children of Israel, but yet the Bible says something completely different. The Bible says that the children of Israel went into slavery on ships. Continue.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
So in 1492, before that, and 400 years ago, they were wearing us out. I'm going to read a little bit about that and why you shouldn't celebrate Thanksgiving and why you should look at our oppressor in these different nations with a different eye. You should be smart about this and wise. Continue.
And think to change times and laws.
And think to change times and laws. We've been talking about the calendar, but right before that, we were talking about the commandments. It is a commandment of men to do a lot of these things, whether it be holidays, whether it be just having the day of the week in your mind. In your phone, in the dictionary, it's one way, but in your mind, this devil has seared it to where it would feel like Monday is the first day of the week.
That's tough.
Continue.
And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times.
We are given into this devil's hand for a time and a dividing of times. I'm gonna read from this book, and this will kind of open up your eyes. And I believe we have enough time to get through a couple of books, because I only wanted to go through like 3 and a couple of articles to pull out this information. But this book right here was written by a gentleman by the name of Michael Bradley. It is called Chosen People from the Caucasus. This gentleman is a Caucasian or a so-called white person, and this is what he wrote. It says on page 17, and this is for the purpose of learning. This is not for the purpose of hatred. This is not anti-Semitic. This is playing out history.
Right.
And even though it is history, there might be word choices that we in the ISUPK wouldn't use particularly to make sure that our channels continue, to not be blocked so people can hear what we're saying.
Right.
So Jews had an immense influence in the expansion of Europe that began in 1492. So when it says Jews, it's talking about Jewish, not biblical Jews, but in this instance, we're talking about your modern day Jewish people. And 1492, as I mentioned, was around the time that the Moors were defeated at Spain and Granada, and why Christmas is celebrated the way it is today. So we're celebrating the demise of our people, because even though they called us the Moors, so-called Moors, those were Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So the expansion of Europe that began in 1492 and culminated in world domination. So they were very instrumental in the influence of Europe in the expansion and the domination of the Caucasian race today. So how you know it? The colonizers, as they call it, that rule the world, Jewish men had a hand in that influence. It says 4 conversos. So the number 4 conversos, which is a term given to Jewish people, Jews who had supposedly involuntarily converted to Roman Catholicism, put up most of the money to finance the first voyage of Christopher Columbus. That's something that's not taught in schools. Right. So the Jewish individuals, they converted, and then they put up the money so Christopher Columbus could set sail. And we know in 1492, he sailed. And after that, that resulted in our slavery. We'll continue. In the early days of the conquest of the Americas from 1494 to about 1550, Jews, which are Jewish, were a numerous minority, if not an actual majority, of the so-called Spanish colonists that settled in the New World. So Jewish people had settled in the New World between 1494 and 1550. Many of the conquistadors. So when we think of conquistadors, we think of like these Spanish guys with ponytails that had on armor, right, and they conquered the Native Americans and the Tainos. But a lot of these guys were Jewish. Conquistadors were Jewish and such took part in the most brutal episode of genocide and extermination the world has ever witnessed. Within a century of 1492, the Native American civilization had been destroyed and the population decimated by enslavement, starvation, and disease. So if we just take a look at what that's saying, that is saying that a group of people who this man mentioned, which are little hats, they took and they decimated and created genocide, and they are conquistadors. And it said they took part in the most brutal episode of genocide and extermination the world has ever witnessed. That is damn near biblical. This person that wrote this book, he's not an Israelite. He probably has no knowledge of the Bible at all, but he was able to say that it was, I'm gonna get his words right, the most brutal episode of genocide and extermination the world has ever witnessed. Let me read something for y'all. This is Daniel 9 and 11 through 12. It says, yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law. Even by departing, they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. So this is letting us know how we got into this predicament, because we want to know why we're in it and how to get out. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. So before I get to the next part, I'm going to read his disposition one more time. He said, brutal episode of genocide and extermination the world has ever witnessed. Let's tie us to that in the Bible, because the Israelites went through something in the Bible that is described just like that. It says, for under the whole heaven, that's the whole world, has been done upon Jerusalem. There has never been something as detestable, abominable, terrible, something that has been just so despicable that has been done to us. And this man, he kind of confirmed that through secular history, if we can see that. And that's because we broke the law. I'm gonna read a little bit more, because here in the ISUPK, we work with Native American brothers and sisters, because they work with us. They are our brothers, they are our sisters, just like the Hispanics are. And what would we look like celebrating their demise as well as our own? All right, let's read. It says, when Native American labor grew scarce because of genocide, so they were killed off. They weren't even able to pretty much stay in slavery because they were being killed off. It says Africans, which is talking about us, even though we're not African, that's a term that's widely applied to us, were forced into the New World tropics to slave in the mines and on plantations. It has been estimated reliably that between 10 and 15 million Africans and American Indians perished in slavery between 1494 and 1865. Let's continue. But some estimate range as high as 100 million victims. As conquistadors, which is talking about the small hats, financiers and insurers of slaving voyages, and as substantial slave owners in the West Indies, Caribbeans, Jews played a significant role in this infamy, a role contemporary Jews are prone to deny, disguise and distort in favor of their own victimization in Nazi Germany 450 years later. So these are words from Michael Bradley. These are not our own. These are people that were victimized by a person that decided to do terrible things to them. But who has spoken up against what was done to us? Right. The Native Americans should be regarded as our brothers and sisters, and we should not celebrate Thanksgiving. The Lord does not want us celebrating things like that. If I could, I'm gonna get, let me see. Let me get Ecclesiastes 7:7. Because if you have an ounce of wisdom in your body, in your mind, in your heart, you shouldn't do the thing that's going to be done tomorrow. You should separate yourself. I know they have a whole bunch of memes. I even seen people on Facebook talking about with their hand like this, how my hand is going to look coming at them greens. You can eat those greens any day. That I can't remember the big lady's name, but she's greens, beans, potatoes, hams. Like we're a laughing stock. Salakia, go ahead. Reverend Shirley Caesar is an Israelite. She's a pastor. She should know, if she knows the Bible, not to celebrate the death of our brothers and sisters. But she's obviously not wise. Let's read that. Go ahead. You had a question first?
I was going to make a statement.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, after you learn about the truth
Right.
of Thanksgiving, like even being in the world,
Mm-hmm.
I decided not to do this crap. You know,
Right.
Like you celebrate, you have to be a traitor to not care about the destruction of your ancestors. Like,
Right.
This is your family that died.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is after all.
It's crazy.
That's what I have to say.
No sweat. I appreciate it.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad.
So oppression of our people, the Native American, they went through the Trail of Tears. There were over 360 treaties that were broken. Their land was taken away. Today, they are in dismal numbers, and we celebrate their demise every single time on Thanksgiving we eat in solidarity with this oppressor, with this colonizer. And we enrich a kingdom through buying turkeys and everything else that comes along Thanksgiving. We even create more holidays like Friendsgiving, and we enrich our oppressor that slaughtered our brothers and sisters. And we think that it is like a present to us. But read.
And a gift destroyeth the heart.
This has corrupted us. We think that we can serve the Lord in a manner that is detestable to him, and we cannot. There's something that I wanted. Let me see if we can get Zechariah 5 and 4. Matter of fact, Salakia. Let's get Exodus 20 and 13, because we're still in a law class. I want to cover these laws because we're about to celebrate a day. And I guess I can't say the M word for unalive, but we are about to celebrate a day that is rich in unaliving, that is rich in assault in a sexual manner. And it is a commandment of men. But let's read that. Exodus 20 and 13.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 13. Thou shalt not kill.
Thou shalt not kill. So when it's saying thou shalt not kill, if we look in the Strong's definition or the usage of that, that is saying thou shalt not murder. But yet and still, this oppressor has made a holiday off the unaliving, off the pure desecration of Native American brothers and sisters, and we should not celebrate that. That it's actually disgusting. Let's get let me see. I want to go there, but there's somewhere else I want to go. You know what? I'm gonna read it. I'll read it for time's sake, and then I want to move on to a book. So the Native American land was taken through treaties. They tricked the Native Americans, and what they did was they would say one thing and do another. That's why the Native American called them a forked-tongued devil, and like pretty much spoke with more than one word. And that's literally what they did.
Right.
It says in Psalm 55 and 20 through 21, it says, he hath put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. So you make a covenant or you make a treaty, and then you renege on it. You end up just destroying them, taking them off this planet, making them march thousands of miles into their death. But yet you made a treaty with them, and you were supposed to be at peace with them. It says he hath broken his covenant. Those are those treaties. These are these treaties that he made with the Native American man. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
Right.
That's what we're used to. We're used to hearing these good things. Yeah, you can keep your land. We just want to do this, that, and the fourth. We want to do this. And all the while, they're waiting to unalive you. They're waiting to take your wife, take your life. Like literally chop your children into pieces. But war was in his heart. They went to war with us after saying it was peace, after being on land that did not belong to them. His words were softer than oil, yet they drawn swords. One more verse. This is Habakkuk 2:12. Let me actually get to the KJV version because I have it saved. Salakia. It says, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood. How did they build this? With blood. As you walk through different cities, even in Northern America, where you have the northern parts, you're walking over the grave of Native Americans and African Americans, and you're going to celebrate that tomorrow. Woe means destruction. That's what this is talking about in Habakkuk. It says, destruction to him that buildeth a town with blood and establish a city in iniquity. That's what this is talking about. This, you celebrating this holiday tomorrow goes against the Most High.
Right.
And you have a person or a people that were oppressed by Adolf Hitler, but you didn't speak up for us. What you did was you used our movements against us, or created movements to put us as the front runner so we could take the brunt force. You didn't do that unconditionally. You did that with conditions, and you did it premeditated. You can't act like you did this for us and say, oh, we did this for you as a little hat, as a small hat. So a lot of us don't know that Adolf Hitler, he was doing some horrible things to Black people. There's a book called Germany's Black Holocaust, 1890 to 1945. Where is this spoken of? Is this in history? Is this even in Black history? No, it's not. Let's read about it. This is The Untold Truth, Details Never Revealed Before by Furco W. Carr, PhD. All right, so we're going to start with page, what is this? Page 100. And it's in chapter 4, and it says, Nazi horrors against defenseless Black German citizens. It says, order of battle is an expansion defined in the dictionary as the identification, command structure, strength, and disposition of personnel, equipment, and units of an armed force. While one might be hard-pressed to find official documentation, order of battle indicating that all Black Germans or all Blacks, period, should be eliminated, a de facto or unwritten law clearly sent this message. So what this is saying is it's not in writing what was supposed to happen to Blacks in Germany, but it was a unwritten rule. So there didn't happen to be anything written down for them to start unaliving Blacks and putting them in concentration camps. It says historians can clearly identify a command structure in the disposition of personnel, equipment, and units of the Nazi armed forces that specifically targeted Blacks. Where on earth is this talked about? When there are atrocities that are taking place in Gaza, even though we don't pick a side, they want to use Adolf Hitler and the Nazis as motivation to say this is never going to happen to us again. So we're going to blow up hospitals. We're going to blow little kids apart. But yet and still, where is this talked about for us? It says, besides, there is a pile of dead bodies and souls scared for life that prove official documentation was not needed to carry out all manner of atrocities. Yes, Hitler waged war even against Germany's own defenseless Black citizens. Perhaps the chapter title should really read some of the Nazi horrors against defenseless Black German citizens, because we may never know of all atrocities committed, sanctions, or endorsed by Hitler. So when we go ahead and we make our enemy a victim in something that happened to us, we are literally diminishing ourselves and making somebody that is our enemy, that even in the 1400s, in the time of up until the time of slavery, had a hand in our desecration. We want to make them the victim in a situation that plagued us. And then the same people will go ahead and celebrate their holiday. because it's saying that these little hats took place in the desecration of Native Americans, and that's what the celebration of that holiday is about. Where are we at? 8:29. I'm gonna go ahead and read a little bit of this article that I have to make sure we stay on time, because I don't want to keep us too long. So this is out of the Smithsonian Magazine, and it says the myths of the Thanksgiving story and the lasting damage they imbued. In Thanksgiving pageants held at schools across the United States, children don headdresses colored with craft store feathers. So when you grow up in school, we think the Pilgrims and the Indians is something good for us to represent in school. Like that, I used to love doing that. Like I remember before my son, was told about the truth, and before I was told about the truth, he used to do these projects in school. Let me go ahead and skip down. It says, I've had a great many conversations with Panawag people in which they talk about how burdensome Thanksgiving is for them, particularly for their kids. I don't want to go too deep into this article because I want to kind of get into the scriptures a little bit more, but pretty much what this article goes into is how it makes the conscious Native Americans feel when Thanksgiving is celebrated, because the actual history about it is pilgrims or colonizers winning wars against them and just purely unaliving, sexually assaulting, and, taking away their children. There were boarding schools that were dedicated to taking Native Americans and taking away their heritage and their culture. And they find that there are bones and graveyards, mass graves of these children that were taken away from their families, never to be seen again. And yet we're going to celebrate this holiday by the commandments of men. We should see the hypocrisy that's happening right now overseas. Even though we have many enemies out there that have been Confederate against us and have put us into slavery, we should be able to use the Palestinians as an example over there and see that the United States is a big hypocrite when it comes to crimes against humanity, because what's happening over there is ridiculous, but they did it to us. And we should see that. We go ahead and as Americans, we support Israel. That's what I see. The Israelis have support. You had 700 celebrities that signed petitions to have, to show solidarity. And yet and still, the atrocities never stop with these people. There's something else I want to read that ties into that. Let me see if I can find it. Because we're talking about how the celebrities are actually ones that are used as a proponent to go ahead and sway our perception, but even the news media. So we're going to move back to this book for a second. So again, this is Chosen People from the Caucus, written by Michael Bradley. These words are his, not my own. And this is just a learning tool. This is not hate speech. This is not something that would incite any violence. This is just history or fact. So page 23, it says, Jewish control of North American mass media gives and has given ample scope for subtle and non-so-subtle manipulation of public opinion. So what that's saying is a specific group has control over a large mass media that controls how people see certain subjects. So right now they're trying to get us to see Gaza and Israel in a certain way. It doesn't seem to be working any much if you are a young person and you're on social media, because you get to see different outlets. But in the news, I know you watch the news. Would you say that right now you see there's a disparity as far as how it's covered when it comes to Israel and Gaza? Would you say that?
Somewhat, but there is one person that I see that covers the news and are on the same network that did see today, I believe his name, I could have it wrong, Ambassador Bolton, really was, behind Israel. And so much so that even though that there were atrocities being done or, with people dying in the hospitals, he was saying that they had to do it because it would give the enemy Hamas a chance to regroup. So it's,
So you're kind of speaking to my point. So you're saying there is one person, but out of the vast media, you can see that it's swayed more towards Israel. So I'll continue to read from page 23. It says distortion of self-perception and even propaganda, which has molded foreign policy. So even foreign policy has been molded by what we see in the mainstream mass media. So let me go ahead and read. Let's get back to, a little bit of the Native Americans, because this is the law class, but I want to read this. And this is Akash, for time's sake, I won't have you read it. I'll just go ahead and read it. This is Amos 5:21. It says, I despise your feast days. I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Tomorrow, Americans, whether they be black, white, or whatever, they're going to get together and they're going to have a solemn assembly. They're going to have a feast day. They're going to toast and say, hey, this is Thanksgiving. They're going to do all this stuff, say what they're thankful for, but yet and still, the Lord hates it. Let me read one more verse. This is Jeremiah 22:13, because what we want to remember is we don't want to go by the precepts of men, because we've already read that they have spoken great words against the Most High. They've even changed dates and times. If they're saying Thanksgiving is a great holiday, that's speaking against the Most High, because this is what the Bible says. Because we know Thanksgiving is a holiday rooted in the death or the unaliving of Native Americans. It says in Jeremiah 22:13, Salakia. Let me just go ahead and read it. It says, woe, which means destruction. Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness. It's unrighteousness to go ahead and steal a man's land. And his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbor's servant without wages. They went ahead and took the Native Americans' land. And in this book, it talks about how they made us work and put the Native Americans in slavery right along with us. And when they ran out, we were the ones who filled the spot. Useth his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work. You didn't give us anything. We should own cotton at least, right? We should own something. We made our one of our brothers invented the cotton gin. Why can't we have something dedicated to that? When the small hats had what had been done to them by Hitler, even though it had been done to us too, the United States restored them. The Israelis or Israel receive reparations from Germany, and they receive money from the United States as well. We don't get that. Well, we got a $1,200 check. You might get a little bit more if you got a kid. We don't get anything. We get crumbs. They get millions and billions. It's adding up to trillions. Let me go ahead and read this. And remember, the same people that are bombing Gaza into the Stone Age had a hand not only in our slavery, but the unaliving and the crushing of Native Americans. That was what is in this book. It is history. It is a fact. It is not anti-Semitic. So this is broken treaties with Native American tribes, a timeline. So this says treaty with Delaware, with the Delaware's treaty for Fort Pitt. In September 1778, representatives of the newly formed Continental Congress signed a treaty with the Lenape, Delaware at Fort Pitt, Pennsylvania. In the first official peace treaty between the new United States and a Native American nation, both sides agreed to maintain friendship and support each other against the British. So when I actually read into this, they didn't want to fight against the British with them. When I actually went more into this, this is the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian is not telling the full truth, even in this article, even though they're going to reveal some things. But they didn't want to have to fight another enemy. To them, it was just another pale-faced, fork-tongued devil. But mutual suspicion continued, especially after Pennsylvania militiamen killed nearly 100 Lenape, most of them women and children. What are they doing over in Gaza? They're bombing the diapers and the head wraps off of these women and children over in Gaza. Most of them women and children. At the village of Salakia, not in Hutton in March 1782. Now, this is a lie right here that we should be able to, this is even the devil giving up a little bit, but still trying to be deceptive. Right. Mistakenly believing they were responsible for attacks against white settlers. So why would you kill the women and the children mostly? You're clearing the land out like you're doing in Gaza. Stop the lies. There's no mistake about it. It's almost when, what was the Emmett Till, when they say, oh, well, we thought he whistled at the woman. That's what she said. Or, Rosewood, we thought he was she was raped by a black man. No, you didn't. You want what they had. You took it by making up a lie and trying to feel justified. Exactly. That's all it was. The Smithsonian will give you a little bit of information, but if you want an unbiased opinion, you got to read somebody that has no ties to that, because places like the Bureau of Ethnology, which is now, is that the Smithsonian? I'm trying to tie it together, but there are historical strongholds that we have, like the Smithsonian, and other ones that will say one thing, but actually another happened, or they'll give you a half truth. It said, but what did the Bible say? It says, woe unto them that will build a town in blood. Exactly. You unalive these children, these women, and said it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. You know what happened. You wanted their land. Until the Treaty of Greenville in 1795 forced them and other Ohio Native Americans to surrender most of their lands. That's what y'all are celebrating tomorrow. The unaliving, the stealing of lands. Let's read something. Let's read Zechariah 5:4, because I don't want to get too deep into this, but you've seen these UFOs. You've seen these things that are happening.
What'd you say again?
It should be Zechariah 5:4. Now let me go there real quick just to make sure it's it. Zechariah 5:4. We can start at 3, because the Most High does not take lightly to this, because Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are called thieves, robbers, criminals, degenerates, all this stuff. But who stole land? Who kidnapped and stole whole people, whole heritages? These people will even say they are the original Egyptians. Like, you steal identities by and large. Like, you will literally have people that know they're from the Caucasus Mountains, which is fine. You can be from the Caucasus Mountains. You can be from Mount Sierra. But you'll say that you're from the place where the people have dark skin. Do we got a Bible dictionary in here? Because I might want to read that too.
I got one.
Okay, we might get to that too. But let's start at verse 3. And we're in Zechariah chapter 3, Salakia chapter 5, verse 3, because there is the biggest thief on earth. And the Lord is going to visit them to remind them what's happening. And these are UFOs. Some of these UFOs, they might be government made, because remember, I don't know if you ever heard this, we are 50 years as citizens behind in technology, maybe even more now, than what the government actually releases us and lets us have. So don't think the first time the cell phone or something else came out, somebody didn't have it on tuck 30, 40 years prior. These inventions, they're locked up. You don't get to see them. They're not for you until they decide to make money or use it to manipulate you in a manner. This phone right here, even though it is a great tool to make money, do research, by and large, we see it's used now for social media, stuff like OnlyFans, stuff like getting online, acting a fool and being on World Star, knocking somebody's kufi off. But go ahead, what were you about to say?
I was going to say, the oppressor is the devil in the Bible.
Damn right. Round of applause for that. Round of applause for that.
When I hear about these atrocities, it gets me angry.
Oppression makes a wise man mad.
Exactly.
And if you're going to be happy with grits in your teeth, smiling at the table across at your family, you're not wise. If you're a leader in the church and you're at Thanksgiving dinner, you are a dumb dog that does not bark and does not warn your people. I remember having a conversation with my wife because she wants a dog. And when she showed me the type of dog, I don't want no dumb dog that can't protect the house.
Exactly.
Like a Yorkie, a Frenchie, Salakia. If that's what you want, that's fine. Those are popular, good dogs, purse dogs. But have a dog that can actually protect the house. I've seen people deliver stuff and the dog is crashing through a pane glass window after somebody they think is a threat. It's the type of dog that I'm used to.
Exactly. Yeah.
My dog, when I had one, was 165 pounds. The people that are in here are not dumb dogs. We will warn you. We will fight for our people, tooth and nail to the death, even if it means being ridiculed in the media to where people like Br'nai Brith over in Canada will call us a hate group and try to restrict access for us to visit our brothers and sisters and give the truth. Because they are, like Kai said, the devil that the Bible speaks of, even the synagogue of Satan. These aren't my own words. What did Mark say? As it is written. Those are Mark's words, as it is written, because he read something from the Bible, or Salakia. Those are God's words. These aren't my words. These are God's words. You are the devil that the Bible speaks of. You are the synagogue of Satan. You would go through oppression, but yet oppress everybody around you and then mold the way people think and feel, and then make yourselves the victim. All right, Zechariah 5:3.
This is Zechariah chapter 5 and verse 3. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth.
Salakia. Can we start at verse 2?
Verse 2. And he said unto me, what seest thou?
So what seest thou? Like, what do you see right now? Continue.
And I answered, I see a flying roll.
It's not a roll like a bread roll. This isn't a scroll. This isn't a book. He said a flying roll. So he's describing something, that the best answer he can get. And this, and now in modern day times, we use different terms. A pilot said over the eastern seaboard, he saw a flying tic tac. So something white that was shaped like this, and the measurements that he gave was the size of a Cessna, like a small plane. So about, I believe, like 30 cubits or something like that, which is about the size of a Cessna. And they give the measurements of the flying roll somewhere else in the Bible. But this is what Zechariah is seeing. Continue.
This is Zechariah chapter 5 and verse 2. I see a, and
It's
he
actually-
said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits.
So Salakia, it gives the measurements right here. So you can go get the measurements itself. This is not something spooky. This is not something made up. He's giving you the measurements, the actual specifics. It is the size of a Cessna, a small plane. Continue.
And the breadth thereof 10 cubits.
So 30 cubits wide, Salakia, 30 cubits long, and 10 cubits wide. Continue.
Verse 3. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth.
So these things are visiting the whole earth. You can see it all over the earth. Different types, but this particular one is being specific over the whole earth. It's talking about it. What were we just talking about? Woe unto them that would buildeth a town in blood. Destruction unto them. The people that have stolen lands, stolen heritages, stolen people. The biggest thief on earth. The Lord is not finished with them. Continue.
For every one that stealeth shall be cut off.
So this isn't talking about your neighborhood liquor store robber. This isn't talking about the people that we're seeing on Instagram and Facebook that are running up in the Nike outlets with bags and clothes. This is talking about a way larger criminal. Because if you think about it, stealing a couple of items, or not, I don't even diminish it, but stealing items out of the store versus unaliving people and taking their land, putting people in slavery and taking their heritage, you can't even make the comparison.
Exactly.
The biggest thieves, the biggest deceivers. Continue.
Come. For every one that stealeth shall be cut off, as on this side according to it. And every one that sweareth shall be cut off, as on that side according to it. And I will bring it forth, said the Lord of hosts.
Saith the Lord of hosts.
And there shall enter into the house of the thief.
Continue.
And into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name.
Who is saying that they are us and are not? Who is swearing and on, like, even saying that the country is built for God? They're saying, what is it saying on the dollar bill?
And God we trust.
And God we trust. You're swearing by the Lord's name falsely. That's why you're starting to see these anomalies in the air. They try to say it's, what do they call them? UAPs, unidentified flying phenomena, something ridiculous, UFAs, something
UFOs.
Crazy. Instead of just calling it a chariot of the Most High. And it's visiting the house of the thief. The people that have stolen the most from us, that have made commandments against what the Most High has said. Let me see, what time is it? All right, we got a little bit of time left. Let me just read one more verse and we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And remember, this is Amos 5:21. It said, so for those of you who want to celebrate the death and destruction of Blacks, Hispanics, and especially the Native Americans, it says, I despise your feast days and will not smell in your solemn assemblies. You're going contrary to the scriptures. Now, this is talking about something that happened aforetime. But what are the scriptures for? For our learning, even to today, for reproof, so we can go ahead and get it together. So we covered thou shalt not kill, but the biggest murder and the biggest thou shalt not steal, that they are the biggest murderer and the biggest thief, and we're about to celebrate their victory over our brothers tomorrow, which we shouldn't. We've also covered how we've been following the commandments of men, these holidays, what they say, even the times. We even go to church on Sundays and call Sunday the Sabbath. When if you just read a dictionary, what they say, if you put it in the book, you can hide it from a black person. Right. It's in the dictionary what days it is. If you're confused, well, I don't know. But the Lord said the seventh day is the day of rest, the Sabbath. It's in here. And if you want to say, well, times have changed, we don't know what day it is. Well, how do you know Sunday is the day? How do you know that it's actually Sunday? Let me read that again for us. It says in Ecclesiastes 7:7, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. That's why when Kaash hears this, he's pissed off when he hears his brothers are being unalived in Germany in those times and nobody spoke about it. That's why when he hears that the conversos, the Jewish conversos, crushed our Native American brothers and sisters, decimated their numbers, and then brought us into slavery. That's why when he hears this, he's upset, because he's wise, because the ISUBK teaches us to have compassion for our people. And when we do that, they call us a hate group. We're not a hate group. We are a love group. Right. And we love the Lord.
Exactly.
and we keep his commandments. With that being said, I'm gonna pass the class over to Priest and Officer Kaash. Round of applause for the class.
This is the ISUPK security announcements. Lord, for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to learn and shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, they are to seek counsel from the heads. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 and 21, Malachi 3, 8 through 10. Ma'ashra means a tenth in Hebrew, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Priest fund is a free will offering for the priest, is not mandatory. Whatever amount you would like to give. The upcoming holy convocations is the Feast of Dedication, which starts on December 25th. You know what I mean? Right, December 25th. Where is it?
It says it right there. It says the 15th day of the 9th month.
December 7th. Starts December 7th. You know what I mean? If any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, you start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. And with that, men of Israel, Amazim, which means to stand. Men of Israel, Amazim Shabbat, Amazim, Barak,
Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Barakatham.
Yazmatah, hands down, Sar, turn and face his sisters. Sisters, Amazim. Men of Israel, Amazim Shabbat, Amazim, Barak, Shalom,
Yahweh Shamar, Alatham, Hashem, Yahweh Shai.
Yazmatah, class dismissed.